So you're back in town, and you know we talked at the Texas Free Thought Convention, and we got a chance to hear you speak there. For those who don't know, Dr. Darrel has been on before. He's the author of The God Virus: How Religion Affects Our Lives and Culture, and you know you've been going around for a while, talking about this, but also talking about the recovering religionist thing that you've done. And so I know you want to talk about those things a little bit. And also I promised everybody that we were going to talk about sex and religion, because I know that that's an interest of yours as well. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, and you can talk about the things you want to talk about, and we'll get to calls whenever we can.
Okay, well, good. Thanks for having me on. This is fun to be back here again. And to talk about religion and how it infects people's minds. And we're going to talk about sex today. And the sex part of it is very important. As I've talked about in the God Virus, most religions would collapse if they didn't have sex to work with. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of explicate before we really got into the phone calls is how religion and sex go together. And I guess I can just go with that, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
All right. Well, I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but almost all the major religions are consumed with sex. They have all this energy around sex, but it's almost all negative energy. They say you can't do this, you can't do that. You have all these commandments and rules and guidelines around who you can have sex with, who you can't have sex with. And imagine if if you took sex out of religion, what would happen to the religions? Most of them would collapse. I mean, can you imagine the Pope saying one day, wow, I had a great wet dream last night. I think we should let masturbation be legal? Probably not going to have that happen, I don't think. Or Ted Haggard saying,
I don't know, he started to waffle on condoms a little bit.
Condoms, so yeah, he may prove me wrong. Can you imagine the Pope masturbating? He's a little bit old for that, maybe. I don't know.
I don't want to imagine the Pope masturbating.
Well, then imagine Ted Haggard, our friend in Colorado Springs, who is now back and starting his new church again.
Because he's completely heterosexual for like the second or third time.
Yeah, well, he got prayed over by all these fundamentalist ministers, and they cured him of homosexuality. They didn't cure him of the methamphetamine addiction he had, I don't think, but who knows. But anyway, he's cured. Thank the flying spaghetti monster that he's healed now. And so he's starting up. But can you imagine him saying, well, here's my partner, and it's a male, and we're going to come out as gay? You know, what would happen to the evangelical movement if they started accepting gays equally? It's like a fundamental, basic building block of the gay.
Right, and interestingly, a pastor has recently done that.
In Atlanta,
yes.
Did, right. And he was the bishop over several other churches, and those churches immediately left.
Wow.
So he's under some pressure already. I mean, of course, he's a megachurch minister, and he'll probably survive fine. And we saw, of course, the megachurch minister, what was his fellow name down in Atlanta, who was kind of involuntarily outed because it was found out he was coercing some of his parishioners into having homosexual sex.
Oh, is that Eddie Long?
Eddie Long, right. Yeah, I forgot the name.
Which we haven't confirmed yet, so it's still just allegations.
Yeah, it's allegations. Lots of allegations, though, from several different people. But if you put all that together, it shows that sex is a really important part of any religious propagation. And it's all put together with respect to guilt. You have to have guilt in order to have a good religious system, if you will. And so you see Catholic guilt and Protestant guilt and Muslim guilt, and they're all guilt around sex. But if you took sex out of it, those religions would probably collapse. So I think just the thing I wanted to open up with and talk about briefly is how does guilt go along with religion? And what if you didn't have guilt around sex, what would happen to the religion? Mm-hmm. Just have your viewers kind of think about that as we go through the thing. So okay. that was all I had to say, I guess.